Hey guys, how are you? I hope you're all doing very well. This afternoon I have yet another movie review. This movie is a horror film from the USA, English language, released in the year 2010, directed by Joey Stewart, and this film is called The Final. So The Final is about a group of school kids. They're being bullied relentlessly by the popular kids. You've got the jocks, you've got the pretty girls, who are just putting them down at every given opportunity. So this group of boys and one girl decide that enough's enough, and they're going to exact some revenge. Now this revenge consists of, at this party, they're going to drug everybody, and when they wake up, they're going to be at the mercy of these bullied kids. So the bullied kids are going to put them all through all kinds of torturous events that is supposed to open the bully's eyes as to what it's like to suffer day in, day out. So this is ultimately going to be a night that no one forgets in a hurry, and what happens at that point on, whether or not these bullied kids can actually accomplish what they set out to do, is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on The Final. This was actually an interesting film on what it was trying to do. Now ultimately it is a movie about bullying and the negative effects of bullying, and how these people, these bullies, they actually contributed to the monsters that they created. Is that they're bullying these kids so much that they're actually losing all sense of worth, of being, and that they've hit this wall where they think that they really don't want to live on anymore, and so they're generating into something far more terrifying. And it was basically as a result of, they're a product of what these bullies were doing, and that's something that you see in every day. Is that you hear stories of bullied children either going out and killing themselves or actually killing other people because they've had enough, and that shows the devastating effect of bullying. And that's why it's such an important thing that people talk about, is that bullies, it can have it's so much more than just pushing someone around, calling someone names. If it's that relentless, it can actually have a devastating effect, and it can blow up to be something quite incredibly nasty. So the movie tries to tackle that idea, and I thought that the overall underneath the core of the film, it's trying to be an entertaining movie, but at the same time give you that insight into the life of a bullied student. But the problem with this movie is that it has the subtlety of a bull in a china shop. Basically everything in this film is exaggerated to the point of a caricature, exaggerated to the point of a stereotype. You've got these popular kids at school, the very good looking women, girls, and the boys, the jocks, the footballers, and you've got these very geeky, nerdy, bullied victims. And so you've seen this all before in high school films, in that it's all the same sort of generic formula. Is that you've got these nerdy kids with glasses, they do fit the stereotype, and then, as I said, you've got the stereotype of the jocks and the very pretty cheerleaders. And so it's exaggerated to the point where you just felt that it was flogging you over the head. It was just, it really needed to be subtle, because if you exaggerate it to the point that this film does, you lose all sense of reality. When you lose all sense of reality, that's half of the horror element gone, because when the bad things happen, you're supposed to invest your time in the victims, you're supposed to invest your time in the actual perpetrators, but because it's exaggerated, it feels like a complete caricature, it feels like a cartoon, and it just lessens the quality of the film quite considerably. I thought the acting really suffered as a result. The script was absolutely woeful, and I thought it was quite a tame film for what it was. I was actually expecting a torture porn film. Now, I know torture porn is thrown out there quite a lot these days, and I'm not a fan of that term, but this is basically torture porn. Is that one after another, these bullies are actually being systematically tortured, and so it doesn't really feel like this is evolving into anything deeper apart from just seeing people being tortured, seeing people that are exaggerated to the point where you absolutely despise them. So instead of trying to portray a real message about bullying, basically what it's doing is giving you just black and white. The good guys, the bullied sort of victims, they actually are made into these monsters, and that is, as I said, the most interesting part of the film, is that these bullies actually contributed to their own downfall. But as I said, because it's so exaggerated, you don't feel like there's any sense of tragedy, you don't feel like there's any sense of loss. You just feel like the movie has an interesting idea, but it's sidetracked in its violence, and it's just very repetitive nature that it has in the last, say, quarter of the film. And then the end of this movie was actually quite a bit of a letdown, but I really shouldn't say letdown, because the whole film was a letdown. I thought it could have been so much more than it actually was. I thought the cinematography was actually good. It was very well shot. So on a production level, it actually felt like it had a lot of money. It had a very competent director, but unfortunately the story just feels like it's so generic to the point where you have seen it before, and when the horror starts to hit in, you don't really feel connected to anybody, so it's really not that scary. So overall, I thought The Final was actually quite a pedestrian horror film. I know a few people out there like this movie, and each to their own, you're entitled to what you think, but for me, I thought it could have been a little bit better than it actually was. I didn't really think this was going to be a knockout, but unfortunately the exaggeration of this film became very irritating, therefore it outstayed its welcome quite considerably. So overall, for The Final, I'm only going to give this one 1 star, not coming recommended. Alright guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later.